All right. So we talk a lot on this show about money, about wealth, about living that life. In this episode, we're going to talk about it a little differently. I'm bringing on a dear friend of mine, Cayla Craft, and she's got a brand new book coming out. Do you really know what you want? And think about that question. The fact is that when we're looking at building a financially free life, when we're trying to live that affluent life, the affluent entrepreneur life, it has to do with money, yes, but it has much more to do with your life, the richness in life. Remember, one of the core critical outcomes is a richer lifestyle, is to live richly into your life. And the way you do that is you live fully expressed, you live fully in alignment with your values and what you want out of life, with the vision that you create. And in this book, and in our conversation today, Cayla starts to break down her recipe for getting richness into your life, because you're in alignment, you're living fully, and you're very clear about what you're doing, and stripping away the self-sabotage and stripping away, toxic positivity and those kinds of things. So I hope that you enjoy this episode of the Affluent Entrepreneur Show. It's different. It's good. It's really good. Enjoy, Cayla, and I'll see you on the other side. Oh my God. So good to have you on here, Cayla. I mean, I actually have been on your show. We've done the intro, so they know that. But it's the first time that I brought you on. And I'm so happy to have you here because of some stuff that you got going on that's going to change people's lives. So welcome to the show.
I am so excited to be here on the Affluent Entrepreneur Show and have this conversation. I am pumped about this book and just what you're doing out there. I know that your audience is just full of action takers, and that's who I love to talk to. So
yes. So I want to talk about it because you've got a book coming out, and we'll make sure that it's all hooked up right from the get-go. This is a book that is going to, as we go through it, you'll see it's going to change every aspect of your life, because it changes how you show up. And it will shift your identity. And the title of the book is What Do You Really Want? I mean, imagine that question. And I'm curious where the title and how that all came about, because I think there's a whole lot of people that actually go through life not really knowing what they want.
Well, what happens is I've been coaching people for 12 years. And what I would find is I'd find out by asking people one question. And this is the first part in my Take 7 method I introduce in the book. And the number one question I ask is, what's not working for you in your life? And a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking about that. And because of two things, we don't want to sound negative. We don't want to be the complainers. And so I have a rule about that. If you're going to state what's not working for you in your life, you have to be willing to do something about it. That's the difference between complaining and a complaint. And so starting off with that question, and people would just list out some things, in every area of their life. And I'm like, are you willing to do something about it? And everybody says yes, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do to get out of this current situation. I feel like, kind of imprisoned to my life right now because, you build it up, you get this certain dream life that you think you want, then you realize I don't want it. And that was my story. So I became a nurse when I was 21 years old. And by the time I was 23, I realized I don't really like nursing. And I got into nursing for the wrong reason.
Sounds like me with accounting.
Yeah. But, for some reason, I got into nursing because I grew up with a single mom and I was always wanting a stable job. And so, because she never had stable income. So I was like, what's the job that, has a shortage? And it was nursing at the time. I think there's still a nursing shortage today.
Yeah.
But I go, okay, I'm going to be a nurse because I'll always have a job no matter what. So that's not a good reason to pick a career, right? So, but you go through all this schooling and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, I remember telling Chase, my husband, hey, I don't think I could do this for the rest of my life. I'm stressed out. I'm crying myself to sleep at night, every night, because just the the overwhelming amount of guilt I felt every time I left the ER was it was slowly killing me, I think. So I was like, well, I got to make a move. And he was like, you're fine. My mom's done it. My mom was a nurse for 40 years. You'll be fine. He was kind of like that. Anyway, and so I got into network marketing and realized, oh, I really like this entrepreneur thing and I want to go full time in this. And I was able to create some success there. But I ended up giving up my nursing license completely, walking away from it because for me, I needed to burn the ships and, really move into the entrepreneur world and what I really wanted. And if I would have kept my license, I think when things got tough in my late 20s, I probably would have gone back, which wasn't really the path for me. I needed to let it go and just go forward. A lot of people aren't willing to do that because they don't trust themselves. And I talk about that too in the book because, a lot of us don't trust ourselves because we've gotten really bad at keeping commitments to ourselves, just even with the tiny things. And I know you talk about this too, Mel, but like that's how you build confidence is you have to do the things that you said you were going to do. And when you start to do that, you start to build confidence up in yourself. You start to build trust in yourself and you realize, okay, I'm not happy with my current situation. I'm going to bet on me because I know at the end of the day, if I'm following the true path for myself, it's going to work out because I'm going to do whatever it takes.
So this is so good because I think it's so easy to fall into because look, to be an ER nurse, first, to be a nurse in general is not an easy road.
Right.
But to be an ER nurse and put you under that kind of pressure, that kind of stress is even harder.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with a tremendous amount of expectations from society, from the workplace, from your community, from the people you work for. And and I know this because even with me with the accounting, there was an expectation of the path that I was going to go and everything. And how many people don't have the courage to step back like you did and said, this might hurt for a little bit, but I think we got to burn the boats here because the change or the decision is either it hurts for a little bit now or it hurts for a long time, forever, and everything. Now, how long did you kind of vacillate the decision? How did you navigate that decision? One, and two, I kind of know Chase, but what was that conversation like when you came to him and say, honey, we make good money, but I'm out?
Yeah. Well, so I was smart about it, I have to say. And this was also Chase too, because he's very realistic.
Yeah.
I'm, I'm very optimistic. So what happened was I got involved in network marketing. And for those of you that don't know that, I was selling protein shakes online. This was back in 2011. And I was able to, make multiple six figures. And so what I decided to do was, okay, I'm going to try a different avenue of nursing. So then I got into teaching at the college and I go, okay, I like this, but it's also not giving me the time freedom that network marketing can give me. Then I went to work for an eye doctor where I worked at 4:30 in the morning to 10:30 in the morning.
No way. I didn't know this.
Yeah. And I was at the time, this is what's crazy. In my network marketing business, I was making about $750,000 a year in my network marketing business, still getting up at 3:30 to go work as a nurse because my identity was so rooted in I'm a nurse and this helps me, just have that thing to fall back on. And then I got pregnant with my third baby. And this was the deciding factor. I didn't want to leave him when I was going to have him. And so I remember going and telling the eye doctor that I worked for at the time, and he goes, okay, like, I've been wondering why you keep working for me anyway. Like, I'd pull up to work in my G-Wagon, and he's like, I always wondered why you kept working here. And so he was like, good luck, like, we're excited for you. And then that was when I just completely walked away from it. But I did have that nest egg built up. We had already started investing in real estate at the time. And so I think a lot of people will burn the ships too quickly, right? They'll kind of go, okay, I have credit card debt, I have $0 in the bank, and then it's like too desperate.
Well, and I think that you bring up a really good point. And those of you that are watching and listening, I want you to hear this. There is a difference between being committed and being reckless. I
Ooh,
mean,
yeah.
you have two kids,
Mhm.
and one on the way. Just, and so reckless would have been, I got nothing, but I don't like this, I'm out.
Right.
And you can say you're committed all day long, but you should be committed if you do that. But the reality is that you came up with a plan. And I think that many of you that might be listening are sitting back and saying, if I really answer the question, what do I really want? It may not be what I'm doing now, which means that it's going to require a change, which means it's going to require me to do something different, which means I'm going to have difficult conversations with myself and with others. But it also means that you have to put a plan in place, that you have to put something in place to be smart about a transition so you can be committed to a transition and not reckless in transition.
I love the way that you put that, Mel, because you've probably seen this big popular quote. It's you're one decision away from a completely different life,
Yeah.
right? And you're laughing because we all know it's a million decisions that are going to help you build your dream life. And that's why step 7 in the book is about what's your next best step, because it's one foot in front of the other and you got to take it day by day. And it eventually will get you to where you want to go, but it doesn't happen overnight. And I think more of us need to be having this conversation, this real conversation, that it's not one decision and it's going to be hard. You're going to have to, like you said, have those tough conversations with people and face the music of what you really want. Will it be worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have, because you coach, I mentor, and I'll have clients that say, I don't want to make the wrong decision. I said, I said, decisions aren't black and white. In fact, decisions don't set a path. It's the pattern of decisions that set the path. It's just a dot on a line. And so the reason we make the decision is to get more information and make a better decision, and not to set everything in stone, because you're here with this book. But like you said, if we look backwards, there's a million decisions that got you here and set things in motion. And as you got more information, you shifted. Because I've watched, even in the relatively short time that we've known each other, I've watched you transform, to transition, to grow, to be bigger, to be more, to give more, to do things more. I mean, you called me out of the blue one time just to speak to your mastermind, but you've gone way beyond that mastermind now. And so, and a lot of this book, the Take 7 framework and everything, this and these questions, these really came from your years and years of working with your clients and coaching.
Yeah. When I was in network marketing, I look and say, how did I have such a successful team? Because I would do one-on-one coaching sessions with all of my leaders. And at one point we had, I think there were like 25 people on my team making 6 figures and a few millionaires on my team. So I had really highly successful people. We had an organization of 90,000 people. So we were constantly coaching people to success. And when I decided to transition out of that, I said, what did I do to help all of those people not only be successful in their career in network marketing, but like they had stronger marriages, they were healthy. There was something I did. And so I reverse engineered the process, found out what I'm really good at is asking questions. And there was a theme with the type of questions I asked. And so that's how I created my Take 7 coaching method. And I started to use that about 6 years ago in different coaching memberships I had. And it works for every single person. It works for male or female. No matter what situation you're in, there's always something that's not working for you in your life. So when you start there, you can start to get better results in every area. So Yeah, I love coaching people. I love seeing transformation. And what I love is that this takes 7. It doesn't take a coach. You don't have to sit on the other side of a coach and ask this. You can do this with yourself in a journal. And I mean, I'm always for having coaches, but there are some times where, you just need to be able to coach yourself through things.
Yeah.
So,
Let me ask a more of a general question in your eyes, and that is, why are questions so powerful?
well, because our mind loves to have the answer. Our mind loves to be the smartest person in the room. Okay. So when we hear questions, our mind searches. It's like it goes for a treasure hunt over and like, oh, what's the treasure over here? So it's gamified and we have to answer it. And what I found with some people, they would answer, I don't know. And so I would create a rule that you cannot say, I don't know to Cayla. You cannot say, I don't know, because your mind does have an answer and you're just judging yourself and you don't want to really share the answer. And so women would go, okay, yeah. And they'd say what it is that really wasn't working for them. And then we'd get to move, through the rest of it because they realize it's safe to answer and it's safe to um, not know everything about it. But okay, if I just have a little piece of information, we can work with that.
So do me a favor. You have the book there. Can you hold it up just so those that are watching can see it? Because I think it's so cool. We're talking about questions. Can you imagine y'all are walking through the airport and there in
Yes.
Hudson is this book that says, "What do you really want?" And you just walk by it. And
They're going to buy it.
And it's going to be in your mind going, I got to answer that question, but I'm not sure how to answer that question. And you're going to go back and you're going to buy the book because I said, I got to figure out how to answer that question. But the power of just the title being a question is there. And that's why I wanted to ask the question of how you see the power of questions, because the book is built on a framework of 7 questions.
Well, so, we ask ourselves questions all the time. Most of the time, we ask ourselves questions that are disempowering. So we will say things like, why is this happening to me? First of all, a why question is the worst kind of question to ask yourself because our mind, that's the one where our mind goes, I don't know. So take why out. It should start with a what, usually, or a who. And uh, I realize my life is built up because I've asked myself really good questions, or I've put people in my life that ask me really good questions of myself. And, you know, I remember we have mutual friends, Chris Harder.
Yep.
And I remember I was going on a walk with him and his wife, Lori, one time. And they were asking questions like, okay, who do you need to meet in order to make your dreams come true?
I've
Like,
been on some of them walks with them.
right. And so you're like, oh gosh, that's a really great question. I haven't thought about that. I've been just sitting over here thinking, why aren't people calling me? And it's like, again, not a powerful question. And so, you start to really want to find the answer. And even if you don't have the answer immediately, it's now, okay, it's kind of playing on a loop in your mind.
Yeah.
And eventually the idea or the person will be dropped into your lap if you're open and looking for signs of receiving it. So, yeah, so it's important to ask yourself the right questions and be at the right tables.
Yeah. Yeah. And to have people that are willing to ask the questions of you and try to get you to mind the questions you should be asking.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I had a coach, my first business coach that I ever hired, and I don't remember when this was, in my late 20s. And he was really good at asking questions too. He's here in Orange County. And he said, he asked me about my inner child. He was like, oh, what version of you, something like that. What version of you is showing up? And I talk about that in the book. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Matthew? Like, what version? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh, I feel like it's your 2-year-old self showing up right now that's having this, issue that you're dealing with in your life. And I'm like, how do you know? Like, I'm like, and then I started to think about, well, what was going on with me when I was 2? And I realized, oh, there was a lot of trauma happening in my house. And that's when I decided that I was probably going to be a control freak for most of my life. Anyway, so that, having a business coach like that asked me powerful questions all the time. He also said something to me. He goes, Cayla, you're like a bulldozer. You just bulldoze over everybody to get what you want in your life. And don't you want to be a Ferrari? And I was like, well, yeah, I want to be a Ferrari. I don't want to be a bulldozer. That was another powerful question. So, yeah.
So, in the book, you talk about, and this is a buzz term that we hear a lot right now. So, and that's why I'm picking up on it, about toxic positivity.
Yes.
And, what is that? What that looks like? How do we get beyond it and everything? I just, it's such a, I don't know, hot topic right now that I want to just kind of bring that out, because this book really starts to dig into this.
Well, so it's actually like in one of the first chapters we talk about this, because people, what I've seen, especially in the personal development world, you ask the question, what's not working for you? And they will skate around it and they will not answer it because they do not want to be the person that sounds like they're complaining. And, or they don't want to manifest it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, if I say what's not working, I'm going to get more of it, And I'm not making fun of manifestors. I'm just saying, like, like we can also we can say, we can come from an empowered state and we can state what's not working for us. And again, are you willing to do something about it? Don't talk about it if you're not willing to do something about it. But we have to really face our emotions. When something unfortunate happens in our life or in our businesses, we need to feel the feelings around it instead of just automatically going to the coping mechanism of, what's the positive thing we can find here? Because then what we're doing is we're suppressing our emotions, and suppressing leads to depressing, which can cause depression, right? And so I talk about this, like, feelings are feedback. So if you're upset about a situation, let's say, recently I had a situation with a friend that was upsetting to me. She, did something that hurt my feelings. And instead of going, straight to, how can I be happy about this? I go, okay, what part of me is so upset right now? And I realized the part of me that was made fun of as a kid. When I was younger, I was kind of like, I didn't fit in into crowds. My dad was in jail, and I was always so scared that people would find that out, because I thought they would think I was a bad person if they knew that about my dad. And so I just really stuck to myself, and people made fun of me for that. And so when my friend did this thing, it made me feel rejected. And so little 7-year-old Cayla is coming up, and she's like upset. And what I realized I needed in that moment was to nurture 7-year-old little Cayla just in my mind, and just say, hey, you're loved, you're adored, you have really great people around you. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and you're not going to be invited to everything. And that's okay, because you've come to, this place in your life at 36 years old where you've created your own table and you invite people in to your life. And so it was this just really powerful moment I was able to have with myself, where I let myself feel the feelings. And what I realized was, hey, that was just a little rejection. And it just means that I like to be included, which, what can I do right now? I could love on little Cayla, show her that she is included, that she does have really good friends around her. That person that did that might not be the best friend, and that's okay. And we were able to move through it quickly, but I didn't just bypass the feeling that I was having.
So interesting you say this. When I got diagnosed with the cancer, I started off in denial. And so I got diagnosed on a Friday. All of Friday, I was in denial.
Yeah.
All of Saturday, both Stephanie and I ended up in the emotions of what was really happening. We cried all day. And we needed that, because on Sunday when we woke up, we were able to look at it and go, this is real. This is where we're at. And I can wallow in it, or I can find a solution. And that's when we kind of looked at it and say, okay, so what's ahead of us? What do we need to do? And how do we prepare to, in this case, the biggest battle of my life, for my life. And it's the same kind of thing, because I think that when things don't go the way we want, sometimes we start beating ourselves up. We start asking wrong questions. See, I'm not good enough. I'm not, and all the things. A launch goes wrong. Something goes wrong. And you go, see? And we end up allowing it to define us. And that's where I think the mistake is. And what you're telling people to do, I love this, is that say it's okay to feel it.
Yeah.
It's not okay to live there.
Mm-hmm. Well, your emotions, or feelings are feedback, and they will tell you more about what's important to you. And so when we could just pay attention to them and say, like, our emotions don't define us. Our emotions are not a part of our identity. They are just something that make up the human experience. And so when we're able to dissociate ourselves from that emotion, like, I might be angry in this moment, but I'm not an angry person. That's a very real thing. Okay. Well, with your cancer diagnosis, you're going through the grieving process because you're you're facing death in that moment. And so everything that is important to you in your life all of a sudden is very magnified. And that's probably a very healthy and good thing, because you realize, wow, I have such a rich life. I don't want to lose it. And, I think that that's, and you live your life differently, Mel. From that moment, you've completely shifted, and you've created a whole impact. Like, you're all about impacting people. Every single person you come into contact with leaves better than before. And you're always a very present person too. And I don't know you before your, cancer diagnosis, but things like that, they change you and shift you forever. And so I think you were able to feel your emotions. It's so powerful. More people need to go, okay, I forget who talks about it, but they say it's a 5-minute funeral. Whereas I'm going to be sad for the moment and I'm going to grieve over it, but I've got to go move on to the next thing after that, because I can experience emotions, but my emotions are not going to own me.
Yeah. God,
Mhm.
so good. And those in the audience are listening, we talk about affluence, and affluence is really about living a richer life. Richer is how, not necessarily the bank account. It is how we experience life. It's how we feel about life. It's who we experience it with. It's the richness in life. And what you're doing is literally giving them the recipe to allowing that richness to come into their life. Bronnie, it hits me so much, because Bronnie Ware wrote that book, 7 Regrets of Dying. And she
Ooh,
was,
I need to read that.
oh my God, she's a hospice nurse. And
Okay.
so, and one of the biggest regrets, here's this woman who's with people in their last days, in their last moments. And she said, one of the biggest regrets they have is the fact they look back on their life and they realize they didn't live their life. And it's like, how often do we not do that? And I think the richness comes from the fact that by the time that we get our toes on that line and we're ready to say, all right, I'm done. You are sweaty, you are dirty, you are tired. You look back at all the people you shared life with and you go, I did all right. And I did
Yeah.
good.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
this, the book, because you hit with the toxic positivity, you hit on how to eliminate and get past self-sabotage. And there's just so much in here that I think can drag us down from the richness of life. And what you're doing is saying, here's the recipe to clean this up, to take control, whether it's your relationships, your health, your money, how you experience parenting, grandparenting, all of it, that allows people to sit back and say, I want to live a rich life.
My tagline on my podcast has been, when you follow your purpose, the riches always follow. And so I love that, that's what affluence means, because, riches are like, we could have so much money in the bank account, but if we don't have good friendships, if we do not have health, we're not really experiencing the riches of life. And so I want every single person to be able to experience that. And you can only get there if you're willing to do the work. Everybody wants strategy. Okay, but tell me how to have my dream life. Tell me how to get what I want. And it's like, okay, but are you willing to go and work on some of the wounds that you have? Because a lot of us, if we answer the question right now, what do you really want? A lot of us will answer from a place of a wound, just like, okay, if at 18 years old, what do you want, Cayla? I want to be a nurse because I need a stable job. I was like, what? Okay. And then even, becoming an entrepreneur, I did it for the wrong reasons too. It's because, well, ooh, I want to have more money than I ever thought possible. And because I didn't have any money as a kid. Again, another wrong reason, but I don't shame myself over that. It's just like, okay, it all brought me to this place. And when you know better, you do better. And that's the beauty of life is that, we'll try things and they don't work out and we'll do things for the wrong reason, but we'll learn along the way.
How does this fit into, because so I was speaking at a conference. I was closing keynote at a conference, and I made this statement to him. I said, too often we plan our future from our past, but we need to plan our future from our future. We need to define what it is meant to be, at least as we envision it, not with the filter of, I don't know how, I don't know what to do, I don't know who yet. That will come. But when we plan from the past, the circumstances is another way to say it. I need to get, like you said, I want to go into entrepreneurship because I got to make money because I grew up without money. You're coming from the past.
Right.
But I watch you, I lurk, I watch you. Not in a creepy way, but you and Chase and the kids and how you live as a family, as a unit. And it's clear that what you do today is coming from your future and not your past anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it's huge. And so here's a question. I know that we'll start to get this closed down. We'll make sure you know how to get this book and get everything that Cayla's got to offer. But let's say that there's someone who's in a bad place right now. And they go, yeah, because you'll hear it, I'll hear it, great Mel, great Cayla. Yeah, it's easy for you to say, look at where you're at. Okay.
Right.
Y'all, just so you know, it wasn't a straight line for either one of us.
Yeah.
we have had our face plants, our skinned knees, our stub toes all along the way. But in order to break that cycle, all of a sudden to get the attention and say, and start to stand up, what might be that first step? What might be that first thing that they all need to start to think about or do, or the questioning or the act they should take? Because contemplation doesn't get us there. Action does.
Right. So I think it's really important to understand when we started accepting the bad standards, right? So when did we start accepting the rock bottom? Like, when did we start accepting living paycheck to paycheck? When did we start accepting being in toxic friendships or relationships? There's a part of us that said, I'm only worthy of this. And that's the part that that's actually what we need to do first is say, okay, I've got to change my beliefs because beliefs shape our identity. And so I've got to start changing my beliefs around the standards I accept in my life. So, because, we can go around, around and around and around, but there is the psychology of change. And if your beliefs do not match the new identity you're trying to create, you will never have that new identity. Okay. So we have to create new beliefs. So I am somebody, like if I'm somebody living paycheck to paycheck, okay, I am somebody who is worthy of overflow. I am somebody who is resourceful, who can make money from all of my wisdom, experience, and network. I am somebody who can make money from nothing. Like you could just start creating new beliefs that really step into, hey, I would like to have a cash flow machine where I'm making money on the regular, like on a daily basis. Like I make money daily. in multiple different ways. Mel, I know you have all your levers too that you put on. Okay. And that makes me feel safe. And that is the standard I have set for myself. Okay. And that comes from when I was in network marketing, I got paid once a month. And that's very stressful because, okay, it's just stressful. I'm like, okay, I'm not accepting that standard. So I got to go create new income streams for myself. And so you start to take action towards that, but you have to believe you're somebody that's worthy of receiving that amount of money. Okay. And I just truly believe that we're here on earth to live out happiness. We're here to help people. We're here to experience a lot of joy. And that is a true core belief I have. And so I know that money is needed for that. Okay. So I just know, oh, well, I'm not ever going to have to struggle with money because these are the truths of my life. And so it's always just going to happen. Period. End of story. I don't fight with that. And a lot of people fight too much with it. Oh, but I don't work hard enough, but I don't know enough, but create a new belief. Create a new belief and then start walking in that new belief. Okay, if I'm somebody that believes I'm resourceful, what would a resourceful person do in my current situation? Oh, man. I mean, you could go listen to a podcast. Go turn on while you're listening to Mel's podcast, go listen to the Crafted Entrepreneur podcast. Go listen to the Guy Raz show that talks about how all these different companies are built, and then go, oh, getting some ideas and start taking action on that. So I think that we were able to walk into a new identity when we protect the new identity we're creating, Mel. And a lot of people do not protect what they're creating enough. They consume news. They watch too much Netflix. They hang out with toxic people. They scroll too much on social media. And if you could just take all that out and guard what you're creating with all your might, just like you would protect a newborn baby, that's how you should protect your new life. You'll start getting results faster.
I love this because I truly believe, and I totally agree with you. I think that we all have a gift that's unique. We've been given it. We need to nurture it. We need to then give it to the world. That's
Yes.
what I believe we're here to do. We may not know what that gift is yet. And it is through these trials and this growth that allow us to see clear of what the gift is so we can give it to the world. And when we choose, and I think it is a choice, to shrink down, to allow the circumstances to dictate the limits, we never understand what we're capable of being and doing to the fullest. But more importantly, we rescind the gift to the world that we were meant to give. And I think that that's the sad part, whether it's to your children, to your grandchildren, to society, to community, to a cause. Someone, something needs us to show up fully and fully expressed. And this book is kind of the recipe, the action plan, because it isn't just something where you're going to read and contemplate and meditate on. You are going to take action on it. You're going to do it. And it may be unnatural at the beginning because you've never asked these questions, because you've never been through it, but it'll become part of your being. It'll become part of your identity as you start to navigate it. So
Exactly.
I just think that this is going to change a whole lot of lives, Cayla. I am so glad you wrote it. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that we're getting a chance to share it. Let's let people know, first, where we can get the book, and also where they can follow everything that you're doing, so they can get into your circle. And we'll make sure we all hook it up into the description, the show notes, and all this stuff.
Awesome. Okay. So I know everybody wants to order the book, right? But if you go to craftedoffer.com right now, you can actually order a book on there. And it's really awesome because I'm giving everybody access to a course that I created to go along with the book called What Do You Really Want? So it'll take you through each question. And it's going to be really helpful just as you see me coach it. And you'll get access to live coaching as well. So that's completely free when you buy the book. So if you go to craftedoffer.com, you'll be able to check it out. And I'm hoping that, we're just going to make a community and a movement around a lot of people going after what they really want. And you're spot on when you said, we're supposed to give our gift out to the world. Your gift could be, somebody else's blessing that helps them get what they want. And so you got to feel that obligation to show up and actually answer these questions and start living out your fullest potential.
So good. I think one last thing that just kind of came to mind is to make it really clear that when you do that, this is not a zero-sum game.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone wins.
Yeah.
Everyone wins. It's not taking from someone else.
Yeah.
You show up fully, someone else shows up fully, and you give permission for other people to show up fully. It is a win-win-win all around, and everyone improves. And Lord knows our society, our world, our communities need this right now.
Absolutely.
Cayla, I can't wait to see this rocket to the charts, but more importantly, to be in people's lives and change their lives, because it is the ripple effect of what it's going to do is that it's not just the person that read it. It is all the people they touch beyond that will be affected and positive way with it. So thank you for writing it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on this journey and a friend in my life. I feel blessed to call you friend on this journey.
Thank you, Mel. It's so amazing. I appreciate you so much for having me on, and thank you everybody for listening in.